Philadelphia news, team of my heart. You've been following every Sixers news update, hoping for a big move, right? The team was eyeing a player that could have been the game changer. A sharpshooter, perfect for this lineup, but then everything shifted when he signed a major extension. Now, what seemed possible feels out of reach. Is the door closed for good? We break down what this means for the Sixers and the future. Stay updated with all Sixers news, subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss what's next for your team. You know the feeling, don't you? That anticipation, that rush of excitement when you hear a player might be on the move, and your first thought is, could they be coming to Philly? It happens every time there's a hint of a possible trade, and this offseason was no different. You and every other Sixers fan have been locked in on every bit of Sixers news, hoping for that one trade that could push this team over the edge. This time, the buzz was centered on a young forward who's been making waves. A player who could stretch the floor, play defense, and fit perfectly into Nick Nurse's system. You could almost see it now, him running the fast break with Tyrese Maxey, or drilling a corner three after an Embiid double team. The possibilities felt endless, and the hope? Oh, it was real. You weren't alone in thinking this could be the piece that changes everything. All over social media, fans like you were calling for it, imagining what the team could look like if this player suited up in Sixers blue. But here's the thing, the moment you felt it, the moment that hope surged in you, the ground shifted. The front office of this player's current team? Yeah, they were listening too. They knew what they had. They knew other teams were watching, hoping. And just like that, your dream scenario got a whole lot tougher to pull off. Sixers news started to break. There was a massive extension on the horizon. You could almost feel the disappointment sinking in. This player, this trade target, just locked in for the long haul with his current squad. A 4-year, $112 million deal. Suddenly, all those scenarios running through your mind, all those debates with your friends about how he'd fit into the rotation, well, they just got put on hold. The price tag? It's soaring. Matching salaries, working out the details, it's become a lot more complicated. This player won't even be eligible to be traded until the summer of 2025. And by that time, who knows what the league will look like, let alone the Sixers. But don't think this means the door is closed forever. In fact, this player could still become available down the line. Extensions, as you know, don't always guarantee a long stay. We've seen it time and time again in the NBA. What looks like a long-term commitment can shift in a single season. And while that might not bring the immediate satisfaction you're craving, there's still hope. You just need to keep your ear to the ground for more Sixers news and see how things shake out. The key for you, right now, is patience. I know it's tough. Especially when you've watched this team battle through playoff disappointment after disappointment. You know they're close. You can feel it in the air, especially with the kind of roster tweaks the front office has been making. But sometimes, the piece you want isn't available, at least not yet. This offseason was a roller coaster, wasn't it? You watched as rumors swirled, as whispers about who might be moved turned into real Sixers news updates. But then reality hit. That hope of seeing this particular player in a Sixers uniform? It's going to have to wait. You're used to this though. Being a Sixers fan means understanding the long game. You know it better than anyone, the right moves take time. What's next? You focus on what's in front of you. This roster, this season. There are still opportunities to make noise in the East. And who knows, by next offseason, the pieces could fall into place for a trade. It stings, doesn't it? You've seen this play out before. Just when you thought there was a chance to bring in someone who could transform the Sixers squad, it slips away. The timing felt right. The fit was obvious. And now, it's back to that familiar feeling of what if. You were probably already imagining how this guy would slot into the lineup, giving the team that extra push to get over the hump. You could almost picture it, those catch-and-shoot threes, the defensive versatility, the ability to stretch the floor, everything this team could use right now. But when the contract extension hit, it was like the air got sucked out of the room. Suddenly, what seemed like a real possibility became something distant, almost unreachable. You're thinking about the matchups, the minutes distribution, how the coaching staff would use him, and now it's all paused. You've been down this road before, with players you thought could make a difference. It's that same sinking feeling, the one that makes you wonder when this team is finally going to get that one break they need. You know the pain of watching potential slip through your fingers, especially after seasons of getting so close but falling just short. This team has given you hope and heartbreak, and this situation feels like another chapter in that story. But it's more than just missing out on a trade target, it's the feeling that this might have been the missing piece to put them over the top. It's not just about talent, it's about timing. You know the team's core is in its prime. You've got Joel Embiid dominating, Tyrese Maxey blossoming into a star, and key veteran additions filling out the roster. So when you hear that the player you wanted is locked into a long-term deal elsewhere, it's like watching a window close. But here's the thing, it's not over. Not by a long shot. You know the NBA is unpredictable. Extensions get signed, but that doesn't mean a player is untouchable. In a league where trades can shift the landscape overnight, nothing is ever really off the table. And if there's one thing you've learned from following Sixers news for all these years, it's that situations can change fast. What you're feeling now is frustration, mixed with a bit of impatience. You want that instant fix. You want the move that makes it clear this team is serious about contending. But you also know that patience is key, even if it's hard to keep that in mind when you see other teams making moves. The Sixers aren't in a position where they need to panic. The roster, as it stands, is strong, and there are still opportunities to make adjustments as the season unfolds. You've got to remember that, even though this potential trade target feels out of reach right now, it doesn't mean he's gone forever. Things can shift, quickly. You're looking at a league where player movement is constant, where circumstances evolve from one season to the next. There's always another window. And that's what keeps you locked in on every bit of Sixers news, because you never know when that next opportunity might come. So, yeah, maybe this extension makes it harder for the Sixers to pull off the move you were hoping for. Maybe it pushes things down the road a bit. But if you've learned anything from watching this team, it's that they've always got something brewing. You might have to wait, but this front office has shown it's willing to stay aggressive. You just have to keep your eyes on what's happening, because when the next chance opens up, you'll want to be ready. You've been keeping track, haven't you? The whispers, the trade rumors, and every possible move this team could make. It's all part of being a dedicated Sixers fan. You followed the offseason updates, watched the roster moves, and debated with friends over what the Sixers need to finally get over that playoff hump. And this time, when talk started swirling about a certain player, you got your hopes up. You saw the potential. This was a guy who could stretch the floor, hit clutch shots from deep, and bring versatility on both ends of the court. You imagined how he'd fit in next to Joel Embiid, how Tyrese Maxey could find him in transition for wide-open looks. It felt like the perfect fit, until that extension dropped. Then, it became clear, this wasn't going to happen, at least not for now. But here's the thing. You're not giving up, are you? You've been around long enough to know that no contract is ironclad, no player is locked in forever. Just because this guy signed an extension, doesn't mean you won't see him in a Sixers jersey one day. You know better than to rule anything out in this league. You've seen players get moved even after signing long-term deals. That's why you stay plugged into every bit of Sixers news, because in the NBA, anything can change in an instant. So, let me ask you this, did you already have a feeling who I've been talking about? You've probably been following this story closely, and you know the name that's been on every Sixers fan's wish list lately. It's Trey Murphy. Yeah, the same guy who was on the board during the 2021 draft, the same player who's been catching the attention of teams across the league for his sharpshooting and defensive versatility. He was right there, just a trade away, but now that extension puts everything on hold. Now that you know, how do you feel about it? Does the fact that Trey Murphy signed a deal with the Pelicans make it feel like an opportunity slipped away? Or are you staying optimistic, knowing that things can shift down the line? The truth is, this might not be the last time you hear his name connected with the Sixers. This front office knows what the team needs, and they're not afraid to make bold moves when the time is right. But until then, you've got to stay on top of everything happening with this team. Every trade rumor, every bit of Sixers news, could bring the next big move. And that's why you've got to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. Don't miss a second of the action. You know the Sixers are just one step away from making something big happen, and when it does, you'll want to be the first to know.